So now after this, back to the saga, Anat, we've seen how violent and bloodthirsty and vengeful she is. Well, Anat is not happy. Baal was her brother, her consort, probably both. So Anat somehow captures Mot. Anat is able to do what Baal was not. A day, 2 days pass, and maid Anat interrogates him. Like the heart of a cow for her calf, like the heart of a ewe for her lamb, so is the heart of Anath after Baal. Like she's in full mama bear mode at this point. She seizes Mot by the hem of his clothes, grasps him by the extremity of his garment. She raises her voice and shouts aloud, "You, Mot, give me my brother." Mot, son of El, replies, "You don't know what you're asking, girl Anat. I went searching every mountain to the heart of the earth, every hill to the heart of the fields. There were no humans for me to swallow, no hordes of the earth to swallow. I arrived at the best part of the earth, the pasture land, at the most beautiful field on the edge of death's realm. There I met up with mighty Baal. I took him as I would a lamb in my mouth. He was destroyed as a kid would be in my crushing jaws." And so we see now this is what happened to Baal. Mot went and met him at that place on the edge of death's territory. And the image used is like one would devour a lamb. And then this refrain, we've seen this a couple of times. "Now Shapsu, luminary of the gods, glows hot. The heavens are powerless under the control of Mot, son of El." And then a day, 2 days pass. The days become months, and maid Anat interrogates him. Like the heart of a cow for her calf, like the heart of a ewe for her lamb, so is the heart of Anath after Baal. She seizes Mot, son of El, for the second time after months. With a knife she splits him. With a winnowing fork she winnows him. With fire she burns him. With grindstones she pulverizes him. In the field she sows him. So just as Baal had overcome Yam and dismembered Yam and cast him about, Anath does this even more. Anath takes death and cuts him up, winnows him, and winnowing as how you would take grain that you had harvested and you would put in a big pile and take a fork and throw it up in the air and the wind would blow away the chaff and then the grain would fall to the earth. It's like a way of sorting. So she winnows him and then she burns him and then she takes the ashes, she pulverizes him, like grinds him with a millstone. And then in the field she sows him. So treating him like grain. And then the birds eat his flesh. The fowl finish off his body parts. Flesh eaters grow fat on his flesh. So Anat gets her revenge on Mot, and she uses his body to fertilize the earth. And the creatures of the earth are kept alive. And then somehow, there's a break in the text. We don't know exactly what happens, but somehow Baal comes back. El realizes that Baal is alive. It picks up something that mighty Baal is dead, that prince, master of the earth, has perished. And if mighty Baal is alive, if the prince, lord of the earth, exists again, in a dream of the gracious one, the kindly one, in a vision of the creator of creatures, and this is language applied to El, the creator god, the heavens will rain down oil, the wadis will run with honey. And this is stock imagery of describing the land being blessed, these riverbeds, which is what a wadi is, running with honey. You see this in Job 20. It says he will not enjoy the streams, the rivers flowing with honey and cream. You see it in Joel 3:8. In that day, the mountains will drip new wine and the hills will flow with milk. All the ravines of Judah will run with water. A fountain will flow out of the Lord's house, will water the valley of acacias. So the land is rejoicing. This is abundance, fertility. El says, then I'll know that mighty Baal is alive, that the prince, master of the earth, exists again. In a dream, the kindly God, in a vision, the creator of creatures, the heavens rain down oil, the wadis run with honey. This brings joy to the gracious one, the kindly God. He taps his feet on the footstool, his brow unfurrows, and he laughs. He raises his voice and cries out, now I can again get some rest. My innermost being can get some rest, for mighty Baal is alive. The prince, master of the earth, exists again. And so then he calls out, he's had this dream that Baal's alive, and he calls out to Anath, listen, girl Anath, go to Shapsu, luminary of the gods. Dried up are the furrows of the fields, O Shapsu, dried up are the furrows of El's fields. Baal is neglecting the furrows of the plowland. Where is mighty Baal? Where is the prince, master of the earth? Like, we need fertility. The land is not fertile. Where is Baal? I know he's alive. He's got to be here somewhere. So girl Anath leaves. She heads off for Shapsu, luminary of the gods. She raises her voice and says aloud, message of the bull, your father El, word of the gracious one, your sire. And then she repeats it, the infertility of the land, dried up, the land's dried up, Baal's neglecting, where's mighty Baal? Shapsu, luminary of the gods, replies, Pour sparkling wine in your tent. Put garlands on your kinfolk, for I will go looking for Baal. Girl Anat replies, wherever you go, O Shapsu, wherever you go, I will protect you. And then there's a break here. Something will protect you. So Anat and Shapsu are going to go find Baal, who is alive somehow. And then Baal is now back on the scene, and he goes to take out revenge on the sons of Asherah. We saw how they were sort of rivals, don't exactly know why. But Baal seizes the sons of Asherah. Numerous as they are, he smites them with the sword. Crushers as they are, he smites them with the mace. Mot's scorching heat he tramples to the ground. Baal takes his place on his royal throne, on his resting place, on the seat of his dominion. Now this is embedded, all of this is embedded in the nature cycle of Canaan. After the dry summer months where there's no rain, Mot's scorching heat, what happens? The rains come. And those winter rains are what guarantee the fertility of Canaan. And that is Baal trampling to the ground Mot's scorching heat. So Baal on his throne ensures that the rains come. And then somehow Mot comes back from his demise at the hands of Anath. The days turn into months, the months into years. In the 7th year, Mot, son of El, comes to mighty Baal. He raises his voice and says aloud, on account of you, Baal, I experienced abasement. On account of you, I experienced winnowing with the winnowing fork. On account of you, I experienced splitting with the knife. On account of you, I experienced burning in fire. On account of you, I experienced pulverization with grindstones. On account of you, I experienced being strained with a sieve. On account of you, I experienced being scattered in the field. On account of you, I experienced sowing in the sea. This is all the stuff that Anath had done in her rage to get revenge for Baal. So give one of your brothers, for I would devour him, and the anger with which I am now sick would go away. If one of your brothers, and then the text breaks off, now I eat men, possibly, text breaks off, I finish off the hordes of the earth. And so, possibly, it's hard to reconstruct. There's got to be conjecture here because the text is broken, but possibly, Mot is saying like, hey, I only went after you because there was nobody else for me to devour. Like all the humans had died. Give me some of your worshipers who are described as your brothers, and I'll eat them, not you. So regardless, again, this is hard to piece back together, but then there's a final battle between Baal and Mot. And unlike the first time they meet, this time the results aren't the same. Here now Baal has given me my own brothers to devour, my own siblings to finish off. He returned to Baal on the heights of Zaphon. He raised his voice and said aloud, you have given me, Baal, my own brothers to devour, my own siblings to finish off. Don't know exactly what that means. Don't know who his brothers are. Maybe these are Mot's worshipers instead of Baal's worshipers. Maybe, I don't know. I won't even try to hazard a guess. But the result is they eye each other like finished warriors. Mot is strong. Baal is strong. They butt each other like wild bulls. Mot is strong. Baal is strong. They bite each other like snakes. Mot is strong. Baal is strong. They trample each other like running animals. Mot falls. Baal falls. So this battle's going nowhere. They're both strong. They're equally matched. Death and fertility. The grave and the storm. And so Shapsu comes and intervenes. On high, Shapsu cries out to Mot, listen, O Mot, son of El, how can you fight with mighty Baal? How can the bull, your father El, continue to listen to you if you do? Surely he would pull up the foundations of your seat, overturn the throne of your kingship, break the staff of your rulership. And so now for some reason, Mot is afraid of El. And I don't know how this fits earlier with El thinking, well, he's going to die too if mighty Baal can die. So it's just like in flux, who's stronger at any given moment. And a lot of that possibly, I would suggest, has to do with the seasons and the idea of like who is stronger during what season, because all of this again is meant to depict what's going on in the spirit realm based on what's happening on the earthly realm of fertility and crops and life coming and the seasons changing. So after Shapsu, the sun goddess, says, hey, stop this. El is going to overturn your throne. El is going to break the staff of your rulership. Mot gives in. Mot, son of El, is afraid, frightened, the beloved warrior of El. Mot arises at the sound of her voice. He lifts up his voice and says aloud, Let them place Baal on his royal throne, on his resting place, on the seat of his dominion. And then there's like 9 lines that break off after that. And so then at the end, there's this praise of Shapsu, the peacemaker, her wisdom, telling Baal and Mot, hey, stop fighting, and telling Mot, leave him alone, let him rule on his throne. So Shapsu is praised. Also, please eat the bread of oblation, drink the wine that is presented to you. Most likely this would be referring to a gift presented to Shapsu, the sun goddess. Shapsu, you rule the Rapuuma. Shapsu, you rule the divine ones. And Rapuuma, this is the Ugarit, or possibly the Ugaritic equivalent of Rephaim, the departed spirits of the dead, which are mentioned in the Bible. In your entourage are the gods, even the divinized dead. In your entourage is Kothar, your companion, and Hashisu, whom you know well. In the sea are Arisu, which means demander, and the dragon. May Kothar drive them out. May Kothar drive them away. So here at the end of the epic, we also have one more mention of this idea of the sea and how it's associated with the dragon. See the video, I've talked about it before in this series, see the video here where we talk about dragons in the Bible for the background imagery of this, as well as our superhero seminary with Professor Aquaman. Those are both linked along with the Daredevil video about Lucifer and what's going on there. Those are linked in the video description below, so check those out after you watch this. But that's the end. Then there's a colophon where the scribe, the one who actually made this copy of the tablets, is mentioned. Ilimilku, the Subanite, disciple of Atanu Purulini, who is chief of the priests and chief of the cultic herdsmen. Taiyu, official of Nikmadu, who is king of Ugarit, lord of whatever this word is, and master of whatever this word is. And that's it. That's the end of the Baal story. So what's fascinating about this is just how much it is tied to the fertility of the land. See, this is why people worshiped Baal. This is why people cried out to Baal, because if Baal didn't answer, the rains didn't come. Baal's voice was the thunder, and after the thunder came the rains. Baal, the god of the storm, was the one who determined life or death in a land like Canaan, where there's no massive annually flooding river. So the people in the ancient world would look around and they would see the seasons. They would see life. They would see Baal is on his throne. The latter rains are coming, the storms that give life to the earth. And then there would be this long period of the dry season, the summer heat. And it's like, where's Baal? It's not raining. For months, it's not raining. And so that was in their minds, well, Baal's dead. That's when Baal is dead, when he's in the underworld. But then when those latter rains come, Baal is alive. And that means that we are going to be alive and everything's going to be okay. And so as long as this cycle keeps going, everything will be good. So we need to do whatever we can to perpetuate the cycle, to appease these deities. Baal on Mount Zaphon, El on his holy mountain, Mot, the god of Sheol and the underworld, Lady Asherah of the sea, Shapsu, the sun goddess. And into this culture, this nobody tribe of followers of this invisible God appear and make the audacious claim that this God, Yahweh, his holy mountain, is this tent in the middle of his people, not some faraway remote Mount Zaphon in the north. And Zaphon just means north in Hebrew. No, you don't have to go ascend to the heights of the mountains to find this God. You don't have to cross the sea like you would if you were seeking Lady Asherah to find this God. No, what this people's holy book teaches is not you've got to go on this quest to the ends of the earth to find this secret hidden knowledge of the gods, to ensure that the crops come. You don't have to appease Baal or El or Mot or Asherah or Shapsu. See, unlike the gods in the Baal cycle, the God of Israel is not a God who is capricious or arbitrary. And he is not at the whims of other gods that he has to battle. All of the gods of the Canaan pantheon are pale imitations of the one true God of Israel, according to the Bible. And when Moses is giving Israel his final words before Moses dies, they're right on the cusp of Baal's country. They're looking over the plains of Moab into Israel across the Jordan River, about to go into that land. They are going into Baal's dominion, where Baal has established his throne. When they're doing that, Moses gives Israel this vision of the future. And he talks about they're going to disobey. They're going to go after the Baals. They're going to be lured into worshiping these Canaanite gods. They're going to get sucked in to what all the peoples are already worshiping. But he looks to a time when God will renew his covenant. God will bring them back. He will do something that enables them to remain in relationship with him. And that won't get spelled out until we hear later in Ezekiel and Jeremiah about this new covenant that God's going to make. But even at the time, Moses tells Israel in Deuteronomy 30, verse 8, you will again obey Yahweh and follow all his commands I'm giving you today. Then Yahweh your God will make you most prosperous in all the work of your hands and the fruit of your womb, the young of your livestock and the crops of your land. This is the territory of Baal. This is what the gods like Baal and Shapsu and Lady Asherah and even El, the creator, this is what they were supposed to ensure for their worshipers. And Moses is saying, no, Yahweh is going to do all that. Yahweh will again delight in you and make you prosperous, just as he delighted in your ancestors, if you obey Yahweh your God and keep his commands and decrees that are written in this book of Torah, and turn to Yahweh your God with all your heart and with all your soul. This is what's required of Israel, not appeasing Baal, not fighting against Mot, not trying to manipulate the weather cycle by offering these specific sacrifices or performing these rituals to these Canaanite gods, not having to go on some quest to find this hidden knowledge like we've seen in the Baal story. Verse 11, now what I'm commanding you today is not too difficult for you or beyond your reach. Look at this. It's not up in heaven so that you have to ask, who will ascend into heaven and get it and proclaim it to us so we may obey it? You don't have to climb Mount Lalu. You don't have to ascend Mount Zaphon. You don't have to go to the realm of Shapsu. God's given his covenant, and it's right there in their midst, in the tabernacle, where God dwells among his people. The tabernacle is God's mountain, not Mount Zaphon. And nor is it beyond the sea, so that you have to ask, who will cross the sea to get it and proclaim it so we may obey it? You don't have to cross over to the realm of Kothar. You don't have to cross to find Lady Asherah of the sea. God's covenant is right there, and he is dwelling among his people. No, the word is very near you. It's in your mouth and in your heart, so that you may obey it. See, I set before you today life and prosperity. This is what Baal was supposed to bring. Death and destruction. This is what Mot is in charge of. So they don't have to fear the Canaanite gods. They don't have to be lured into the worship of Baal that we've seen in this Baal cycle. And it's not based on ritual. Look what he says, for I command you today to love Yahweh your God, to walk in obedience to him, to keep his commands, decrees, and laws. This is what it's all about for Israel. The Baal worshipers, there's no commands, decrees, and laws. There's no ethical behavior that they had to follow, because Baal, Asherah, Anath, Athtar, they don't care about that. The pagan gods didn't care about how you lived as long as you brought them the food, brought them the wine, performed obeisance to them, honored them as the mightiest and the most powerful. As long as you feared them and provided what they wanted, you were good. And God says to Israel, that's not what you're going to be. If you do these things, if you live as my people ethically, loving me, loving your neighbor as yourself. That's in Leviticus, by the way. Jesus didn't make that up. Then you will live and increase, and Yahweh your God will bless you in the land you are entering to possess. This was to be where their identity comes from. And Moses gives them a warning. But if your heart turns away and you're not obedient and you're drawn away to bow down to other gods and worship them, and you could put parentheses here, El, Baal, Anath, Mot. If you do that, if you go after these gods in this story, I declare to you this day, you will certainly be destroyed. You will not live long in the land you're crossing the Jordan to enter and possess. And so to ratify this covenant he's making, this day I call the heavens and the earth as witnesses against you, that I have set before you life and death, blessings and curses. Now choose life, so that you and your children may live, and that you may love Yahweh your God. Listen to his voice, not the voice of Baal, and hold fast to him. For Yahweh is your life, and he will give you many years in the land he swore to give to your fathers, Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. This is Moses' final words to God's people. Hearing Deuteronomy's words with now the Baal cycle in our minds, the Baal epic, knowing who Baal was, knowing who Mot was, knowing all about the world that the Canaanites thought this is what we need to maintain, or this is at least how the world works. When we read scripture, we can start to see how God uses some of these same concepts, some of these thoughts and ideas and motifs and imagery, this cultural landscape of Canaan, but he radically redefines it in so many ways. Scripture is a bridge. It has common connection with the peoples of Canaan in order to point them away from what they think is the truth to the God who is true. Paul would do this when he got to Athens and he goes to Mars Hill and he sees the monument to the unknown God and he sees the Athenians and he says, I know how religious you guys are, but what you're worshiping in ignorance, let me tell you about the real thing. And so I think if there were a Paul going back into Canaan, he probably would have said something like, hey, you're worshiping this concept of a God who dies and seems to be gone and it seems to be over and all hope is lost, but then he rises from the grave and so therefore we can have new life. Well, you're just applying that to your flocks and your herds and your crops. But let me tell you about the real thing. Let me tell you about the one who is going to literally die, who is going to literally enter into the jaws of death. And he's not going to just mysteriously somehow he's back and then it's going to happen again next year. No, he is going to once and for all overcome this ancient enemy, this Leviathan, the realm of the dead itself. He is going to beat Mot, not once every season, but once and for all. And we've already seen the first glimpse of it. And let me tell you about him, because he is the Messiah of this people, Israel. So hopefully this series at least gives you, if nothing else, you have an understanding of some of the ancient beliefs of Israel's neighbors. But my goal, my hope here at Disciple Dojo in leading you through this is that this gets you excited to go back and read the Hebrew scriptures, what we call the Old Testament. Having this background, to me, it makes it come alive, and you start seeing, especially when you compare translations, like don't just stick with one English translation, whichever one you prefer, King James, NIV, ESV, always, unless you can read Greek or Hebrew, always read and compare multiple translations, because they will bring things out and you'll hear these echoes and these resonances that you may have missed before. So that's my goal for this series. I hope it was successful. I hope it helped. If it did, if you appreciate it, let me know in the comment section below. Share this video series that we've done with other people. Let them know about Disciple Dojo. And if you haven't already, a great way to show your appreciation is by subscribing and clicking that little notifications bell when you do. That's huge. Anyway, I hope you've enjoyed this walk through the Baal myth. I think it's fascinating. Again, I'm not a Baal Ugaritic ancient Near East scholar. I just play one on YouTube. So take this as an entry point. Take this as a jumping off point, not as in any way definitive. There's so much out there about the world of the ancient Near East and so many legitimately awesome biblical scholars who live in this world. And you know, I just want to be a conduit to get popular viewers aware of and interested in stuff like this, because I think it's fascinating. That's all for now. We'll see you back here next time at Disciple Dojo. As always, keep training.